Xi Jinping says China supports Palestine with 1967 borders.
Here's a summary of the article.
Chinese leader calls for granting Palestine full membership in United Nations and says Beijing supports the two-state solution and the establishment of a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. President Xi Jinping has expressed China's support for end to Israeli occupation of Palestine's territories and voiced frustration over the historical injustice suffered by Palestinians. Xi called for granting Palestine full membership in the United Nations, and said Beijing supports the two-state solution and the establishment of a Palestinian state on the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. Xi's visit to Saudi Arabia is his third journey outside China since COVID-19 pandemic. Palestine sees those territories as part of its country, with East Jerusalem its heartland and ultimate capital. Palestinians accuse Israel of waging an aggressive campaign to Judaize the historic city by effacing its Arab and Islamic identity and driving out its Palestinian inhabitants. Almost 500,000 illegal Israeli settlers live in over 130 settlements dotting the occupied West Bank alongside nearly 3 million Palestinians living under Israeli military occupation.
This post received a score of 36,000, with an upvote ratio of 82%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Aren't the 1967 borders the one internationally recognized by the UN?
Yeah. This is pretty much the standard position among nearly all countries, including the EU.
Thank you for confirming. Therefore one can assume there is nothing controversial in this specific instance, IMHO.
1967 borders are effectively dead. Israel won't accept it and the US has effectively given up trying. Just see Trump's proposed deal. Israel completely rejects the splitting of Jerusalem. So this declaration from China is still a bit of a thumb in the eye for them.
That Trump proposed deal was a non-starter and never had a chance. If anything, its purpose was to gain domestic political support and not be an actual peace plan.
As unfeasible as Trump's plan was, I think it's a fairly good representation of the reality on the ground. It reflects what Israel is and, more importantly, isn't willing to let go of: the western bank of the Jordan River, all of Jerusalem, and the many Jewish settlements. It was unworkable, but it reflects the current reality. A reality that will only become worse with time.
That was the problem, it was just the status quo codified. In negotiations there's compromise and none was offered.
Historically, almost all borders come from the status quo codified and one party is never happy.
Which is why Zelensky is against a ceasefire. If he lets it die down and people lose interest, then Russia gets away with it.
No, if he agrees, Russia will just reorganize and rearm and invade once winter is over, like he did last year.
Greater than we believe the borders of Israel and Palestine should be based on the 1967 lines with mutually agreed swaps, so that secure and recognized borders are established for both states. President Obama of the United States, 2011.
Even George H.W. Bush suggested it in 1992.
Yeah, but in 1995 the Oslo Agreement went into place and peace was looking like a possibility. So overall it would have been fixed in the 90s most likely if the Intifada did not start. But the Palestinian population said no, and then you can see the right wing get power in Israel because of the Intifada. There are always groups in both sides that were against it. Usually the minority, but at this point it is the majority in both sides.
Do people in this thread know that this has always been the China's position and there's nothing new here? In fact, it's also the EU, Japan and Australia's position.
What? Next you're gonna tell me only 2 countries would probably oppose this statement if it came up in the UN.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.